life is an amplified life. It's a bigger life, a happier life, an expanded life, and a hell of a lot more interesting life. That's a quote from Elizabeth Gilbert. Welcome to The Modern Creative Woman, exploring the art and science of creativity. I am your host and creativity expert, Dr. Amy Bacos. Let's get started. Hello, my beautiful friends. Do you consider yourself a creative woman? Or do you describe yourself as more logical? You might think creativity applies only to artists or writers, designers, art therapists. However, you're surrounded by products of creative thinking and ingenuity, including all the machines in your kitchen, your books, software on your computer, your furniture, even your government and social ideas, scientific theories, and artistic works all came from creative thought. In fact, creative thought gave you your life and your surroundings right now. Perhaps you were doing it unconsciously, or maybe just following along with whatever seemed easy or doing what other people were doing. But let's talk about how to use your creative power on purpose so you can create a home, a career, a wardrobe, and relationships that you love. Creative thinking skills, of course, are essential to master at work, and it's a highly desired skill by employers. It also matters at home and in relationships. Creative thinking is indispensable for everyone, and everybody has capacity for creative thinking, even if you call yourself a logical person. What is creativity? It's the mental process leading to an innovation, some kind of solution, or a synthesis of ideas. A creative solution might use things that already exist, like ideas or technology, but the creativity creates a new relationship between them. So that's the definition according to the American Psychological Association, and they're also very interested in creativity. It's part of our psychology. Creativity and art, according to cultural anthropologist Ellen Diaseniake, makes things special. And art making has an evolutionary advantage. It's amazing to think that art and creativity has helped humanity survive and evolve over time. It's an innate skill that we have for survival. That means it's in all of us. Creative thinkers are able to look at things in new and unorthodox way and really come up with a solution that perhaps no one has thought of before. Well, let me break it down into two types of thought. And this comes from the field of psychology. There's convergent thinking and divergent thinking. And before I tell you about them, we need both. And you might find you're more familiar or you've had practice with one or the other, but you possess both. And by building your muscles in both ways, using both sides of your brain, you can increase your creativity, your survival, and your ability to adapt to problems. Okay, so convergent thinking is critical thinking. It uses linear steps, logical steps to analyze like any number of already kind of recognized solutions. And it works on problems using what we already know. And this process, when we use convergent thinking, helps us determine kind of what's the best course of action or one that is most likely to be successful. Convergent thinking, think of it this way, is converging in on one solution or an idea. For example, you might use convergent thinking when you make a pro and a con list. You might use it when you look at what worked in the past. Anytime you evaluate and assess what's been done before. I like to knit, so anytime I follow a pattern, it's a prescribed way of doing things, certain number of stitches, that uses convergent thinking. It requires some degree of creativity if I write the pattern, but it requires just convergent thinking to follow someone else's pattern. If you're hungry and you go look at a recipe and decide you're going to make something from the recipe book, or you go to a restaurant and look at the menu, you're using convergent thinking to get your needs met. It's a prescribed way of doing things. Now contrast that with another way of thinking, divergent thinking. Divergent thinking is used to solve a problem or make some kind of decision using a strategy that kind of deviates from the usual way of doing things. And certainly divergent thinking is rewarded in some industries. Certainly it involves creativity and innovation. Divergent thinking diverges or goes in different directions. And that means putting things together in new ways, like using existing technology to solve a new kind of problem. It makes me think of all the driverless cars that I see everywhere in San Francisco. And that technology came from divergent thinking. They combined existing technology with the need for different kind of transportation available in the city. Divergent thinking shows up anytime you go to a concert and there's an improvised section or some kind of guitar solo. Anytime you go to a jazz concert and you recognize that they're not playing their like kind of traditional music, their song from their album, but they're just jamming. That's divergent thinking. You also use divergent thinking quite a bit when you improvise on a recipe. You add a little more garlic, or you change the oil for applesauce. If you dance around the living room, right, it's improv. Here's another example. If you're hungry and you look in the refrigerator and you just throw together a meal, that's divergent thinking. I used to love that cooking show where the host would show up at a person's house and they would make dinner using whatever that person had in the refrigerator or the pantry. And the chef would just kind of follow through with whatever they had, and it would always turn into some kind of delicious meal. Divergent thinking. It reminds me of that quote attributed to Albert Einstein. Creativity is seeing what others see and thinking what no one else ever thought. You probably remember being told that we should all be ourselves because no one else can be like us. And it's absolutely true. No one else can see things the way that we do. You have your own unique perspective, and so does the next person. And when we stifle it or just follow along what other people are thinking and saying and doing, we lose that capacity. And in our culture, it's so easy to deviate into a space where we're following along what other people are doing. It's easier than ever to compare ourselves to our neighbors all around the globe through social media. But you want to hone in on your creativity and your creative thinking because there's only one you, and honestly, your perspective can help people. Just being authentic and creative yourself invites others to do the same, and you never know how far it can trickle down. So I have 3 reasons why you personally might want to hone in on your creativity and creative thinking. And this comes, again, from the field of psychology around why we need creativity. The first reason probably seems obvious. It's to solve a problem. If you've gotten stuck at work, or maybe you have a goal that you just can't seem to reach, that's where we need creativity. We have to think differently to accomplish a goal. If you have a tense relationship with a colleague or a family member, creativity can help with that too. If you've ever thought as an adult, boy, I wish I had some more friends, or I wish I had a romantic relationship or meaningful engagement, creativity can help with that as well. If you're on a personal development journey like I am, and you want to develop authenticity and know yourself more, art and creativity are some of the quickest ways to uncover your desires and express your wishes. Remember, creativity is what drives innovation and progress. My mother used to always say, necessity is the mother of invention. When we need something, we've identified a problem, creativity helps us find the answer. Here's another reason you'd like to hone in on your creativity. Creativity communicates our ideas, our values, and our beliefs about the world. We have to communicate to connect with others. And back to our survival brain, we have to connect with others simply to survive. So if you're wishing for better communication with the people you love, your community, maybe even the people you don't love, you can use creativity to communicate what's important to you. Do you want to take inspired action on your values or live a more vibrant life? Yes, of course you do. That's the kind of material we talk about at the Modern Creative Woman. Creativity can help you overcome a repetitive argument with your significant other, help you think of new ways to motivate yourself, your friends, your family. Creativity is needed if you want to change some aspect of the culture on your team at work. It also gives you the tools for effective communication with yourself. And the third and final reason why it behooves us all to work on our creativity. As humans, we have a thirst for novelty and stimulation. We all have this need. We want to see what happens on the next episode, right? We want to turn the page on a cozy mystery. We might want to travel, try new food, make new friends, find romance. I personally have an uncurable case of wanderlust. Novelty and that kind of creative stimulation is so exciting to me. But if you're like me, you're always looking for something new, creative, and fun to do. And we can get this need for novelty met in really uncreative ways. We can scroll social media, watch the news, binge a show. However, these are all really passive ways of consuming somebody else's creativity. And that kind of consumption is not as satisfying as creating for ourselves. Just remember, as human beings, we have a need, a biological need and an urge to create. It helps us feel safe. It helps us survive. So I encourage everyone to create, not merely consume. Creativity is essential for really all the roles we play in our life too. And the really great thing about art is that we all have capacity to create art and use creative thinking and divergent thinking. Practice, experiments, and follow through are really important in our creativity. Maybe you remember creating some art in school and it not looking so good or not liking it. Probably around the age of 12, we reach a spot where we really judge our creative outputs very harshly. But now that you know that creativity happens everywhere all the time, not just in fine art or studio art or casual art that you might make at home, it's in every way that you think, decide, make choices, engage with the world. So now that you know all this about creativity, I would love to know, what will you create? You can drop me a message over on Instagram at Dr. Amy Bacos. I would love to hear from you. Have a wonderful week, and I cannot wait to see you in the next episode. And hey, come join me and the Modern Creative Woman over on Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest at Dr. Amy Bacos. Have you gotten a copy of the 5 values of the Modern Creative Woman? Hop on over to the arttherapycentersf.com and pick up your free copy of the aspirational principles that you need to live your modern creative life. See you next time.